Clear.
Student of the year. My name is Khan from the Epiglottis. Air Dil Hai Mushkil. It's hard to imagine that all of these iconic films that most of us have grown up watching are the creation of our special guest this afternoon. Producer, director, talk show host, designer, author, father and a mentor of new talent, Mr. Karan Johar. Fondly addressed as Kejo, dons many hats with ease. He's one of the most notable names amongst a group of young Indian filmmakers who have brought a fresh and modern outlook to Indian commercial cinema. With his flagship firm Dharma Productions, he has constantly challenged the norms, written and rewritten the rules and set trends unimaginable for their times. In 2007, Mr. Johar was chosen as one of the 250 global young leaders by the Geneva-based World Economic Forum. Blessed with a trademark eloquence, grace, and wit, his story is a heartwarming and insightful tale of the life of an exceptional filmmaker and of an equally extraordinary human being. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Karan Johar. Moderating the conversation is Mr. Akshaye Rathi, a film exhibitor and distributor with operations spread across 3 central Indian states. While carrying forward a 70-year-old legacy in show business, Akshay has been a pioneer in orchestrating a first-of-its-kind alliance between single-screen cinemas of his chain with the cinemas. He is also a visiting faculty and a regular columnist with various business and entertainment publications. Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats. We have Mr. Karan Johar.
Good evening, ISB. Besides all the lovely things that Asham said about Mr. Johar, there's been another one that just happened as of last night. Presenting the Filmmaker of the Year 2017 from the GQ Awards. That's last night. Give it up once more. At the very onset of this session, I must admit, and as nervous and intimidated as I'm privileged and excited to be here, to play host to one of the best talk show hosts in the country is some deal. But what the heck, I can at least go back home and tell my wife I had coffee with Karan. Getting on with the talk, Karan, the theme of the summit is transforming tomorrow. And before we speak about the future of the entertainment fraternity, it's important to understand the past and the present. Dharma, of course, has been around since the late 70s, having witnessed the Amitabh Bachchan era, the Shah Rukh Khan era. And Dharma has also been the launchpad for a lot of exciting new talent, whether it's actors or technicians. How's the journey been for Dharma over the years?
Before I answer that, I have to say how exhilarating and exciting this is for me. Every time I walk into a space with so many young minds and so many, passionate and motivated faces, it really adds to my mojo as a filmmaker and as a human being. So thank you firstly, Akshay, thank you for making this happen. From what I hear, this is really one of the best leadership summits and definitely the best school to go to. And I think, before I say it any further, I remember when I actually was one of those, contrary to what possibly my fraternity represents in terms of education, I was actually a topper in college, and I even topped the state of Maharashtra in my BCom. And the first thing I went to my principal at the time, Mrs. Indu Shahani, and she said, "Oh, you've got a seat at Bajaj, you must go and study further." And I said, "No, I want to make movies." And her first response to me was, "Then why did you study so much?" And at that early point in my life, I realized that generally the perception is that, education and filmmaking don't go hand in hand. The thing is that that's the one thing that I've learned in my journey in the movies, that being educated and following the path of discipline and professionalism within your educational pattern is most important. Because it teaches you so many things that perhaps even your books don't. You don't realize it, but the regular routine and just the discipline, it really empowers you as a person. And I think it's really helped me, and that's the one thing I will train my children to be, is well educated and well informed. So I have to say that that's the reason every time an educational institution invites me, I'm always very excited to just see this energy. In this room right now, all of you represent the future, and I really want to be a part of this future, which is why I'm here today, so thank you. And going back to your question, Akshay, the past. Dharma Productions began actually in 1980, with a film called Dostana. My father was, of course, in the business for nearly 40 years, and he actually gave up. Few know this, but for 5 years in the interim, he stopped making movies. He got involved in an import-export firm, which was called Yashwan Exports. But then he met people, how the business of movie making is, it sucks you right back. And that's what happened, and we began the journey at Dharma Productions. And our first film was Dostana, released in 1980. From then on, it was an uphill task, because many films that my father produced were not commercial successes. In fact, they were failures. And it was tough because he balanced it with it was a joke in the house that everything I lose in the movies is because, thank God I have it to lose, because I'm making it in the import-export business. Those were days, and Akshay will tell you, his fathers and forefathers have been in the business, those were days where everyone in the film industry spoke Punjabi. I thought there wasn't any other language that existed. My father was Punjabi, every filmmaker was Punjabi, every distributor was Punjabi, every actor spoke Punjabi. So it was a real shock to me when I met anyone from any other community who was part of the filmmaking process. And I used to get up, and my father used to be on the phone in his lungi and kurta talking to some distributor about how the film has dropped, about how Monday the film has crashed, about CPCI Rajasthan not working as best it should have. So I've been born and bred in an atmosphere of mainstream Hindi cinema. So of course it was part of my passion to be a filmmaker. And it was then in 1995 when I finished being an assistant of Dilwale that I decided to become a filmmaker, and I started writing Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. From then on, I realized that it was important to kind of celebrate Hindi cinema, which is what I even want to do today, because I love everything about it. Unapologetically and unconditionally, I'm obsessed with Hindi films and Indian cinema. Songs, dances, drama, melodrama, it's criticized, it's applauded. It doesn't matter to me, because I'm one of those guys who sat in a cinema hall with my popcorn in hand and was just the happiest person in the world when I watched a film. And that's the energy I always try to bring to my work. So my journey with Dharma was to always be more of a cinegoer and less of a filmmaker. So every film, from Kuch Kuch Hota right up to Ae Dil Hai Mushkil, the sensibilities evolve, you mature as a person, you go through the various beats of life, and that tells in your writing and in your reflection of your cinema. But the one thing that I will always stand by is the conviction a filmmaker must have. And that's what I think Dharma Productions basis is based on conviction. And that's the one thing that I learned from the cinema in the South. They are never compromising. They're relentless about, I think, their energy and their love for cinema, and they follow the audience diktat to the T. We tend to get cerebral at times, we over-intellectualize things, we overthink, but we lose our core passion and conviction, which is what, when I worked and interacted with Mr. Rajamouli on Bahubali, I realized that the one reason that film really is the best Indian film ever made is because there's one man's conviction over and above everything else. And I was like, shame on us. that we haven't been able to do something this brilliant. And I'm so happy, like they bolte hain na Hindi mein chance pe dance marna. I think that's exactly what Dharma Productions did. We were so happy to ride on that brilliant wave of Bahubali that it taught me so much. So yeah, so right now we're in 2017, the journey began in 98 for me, and it's been a great ride. Ups, downs, highs, lows, but I think the one thing that I always teach young talent, be it actors or filmmakers or technicians, that believe in what you're doing. Don't do it as a job, do it as an extension of your passion, because the moment it becomes just a 9-to-5 job for you, it's never going to work, and that's something I would tell any of you. Do whatever it takes to make sure you're sitting in a chair of a job that you actually love, because that's what life is all about, really, nothing else.
When you started off in filmmakers in the 90s, the kind of cinema that was prevalent then is very different from the kind of cinema that's popular now.
Right.
And unlike a lot of filmmakers then, you managed to do something that, not too many could, which is to stay in sync with the times and to stay relevant. What do you think are the changes you've seen in the psyche of the Indian moviegoers since then to now? What are the kind of changes that you witnessed?
I mean, simple things, yeah, like lip sync songs. It used to be the most easy thing that one thought of in 1998 when I made Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. There wasn't a thought that, Are Gana hai, Gane ka situation hai, now they'll sing. It was just a general thought. Today you have to say these characters won't sing, it's not real, it'll be questioned. Critics, Rajiv Masand and Anupama Chopra will kill us. I'm like, we're suddenly accountable to even them. So I'm like, now what are we going to do? So now that's what I was telling you, that we stopped the grain of what we loved about our films because we started becoming overtly clever. I'm not saying you should not be clever, of course being clever is part and parcel of our daily existence as people. But the most important thing is that is what our cinema is all about. It was about song, dance and celebration. Also those days, length was never an issue. In fact, my father said, choti picture hai yaar, 2 hours 45 minutes. 3 ghante ki honi chahiye, warna audience nahi aayegi. So I was like, we used to make our films longer only because it was meant to be a celebration. Today, if I release a 3-hour film, nobody's going to turn up. They're going to think that I've lost the plot if I have a 3-hour long film. There were things and things that we actually were not worried about, that today we have to be overtly concerned about. And we have to tell a new story, the tonality has to be real, everything has to be real. Sometimes this reality is so boring. It's so boring because I've grown up in a cinema hall where nothing was real. It was cinema. It wasn't meant to be real. It was meant to be a dream world. Today we have to be, so to adapt, to reinvent, has been a journey for me as a filmmaker as well, to constantly feel relevant. When I walk the corridors of Dharma Productions and there's thumping young energy, I know that sometimes when I suggest a scene that seems a little archaic to a 21-year-old, I can see the expression. Out of respect, he or she is not saying it, but I know the bubble in their head is saying that I think he's a bit old now for this. And I'm like, I don't want to hear that bubble in anyone's head. I want someone to turn around and tell me, no, I think he's kind of cool for 45. And that is my big endeavor, is to always fit in. That's why I encourage the youth energy around me. I don't want to be a geriatric thinking filmmaker who thinks that he's still holding on to some past glory, because that's called delusion. I don't want to be deluded. I want to be aware of my misgivings and I want to leverage my strengths. That's what I think I continue to do as a person and as a filmmaker.
Of course, you started with mainstream commercial films like Kuch Kuch Hota Hai, Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham, and then came Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, which dabbled with the subject of infidelity, which at its time was taboo, and I distinctly remember.
It's taboo today also. You think your wife will be happy with this film today?
Certainly not.
It's not. I want to tell you, when Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna met with this stormy reaction, I was a very sensible couple met me in an airport once, Akshay, and told me that, sir, what do you think? Do you think we can tell each other we like this film? We can't. Because if I tell my wife I like Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna, she'll say, what did you like about it? And if she says she likes it, I will ask the same question. So the cool thing to do and the safe thing to do if you want a happy married life, to say, I didn't like Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna. Though everybody likes Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna. Because secretly, everybody has a Kabhi Alvida Na Kehna hidden somewhere in their life. Someone told me you're endorsing infidelity. I'm like, how can you endorse something that's already sold off? I mean, it's off the counters. Who is faithful anymore in a relationship?
Guilty is charged.
Yeah.
Just about
You're
liking the
guilty
movie.
about being unfaithful?
Just about liking the movie.
Okay, liking the movie, okay. So that's what happened. Like, I remember, I went and saw the first screening of Kabhi Alvida at a paid preview at IMAX. And there was a husband and wife who were watching it, very traditional looking couple. God bless them, I hope they're still alive. they saw the film and the part that Shah Rukh checks into the hotel with Rani, the wife looked accusingly at the husband as if he had made the film. And he just turned around and said, "Don't worry, dream sequence hai." And then in 2 minutes, they realized it was not a dream sequence, that they actually checked into a real hotel. And that was it. 3 minutes later, they got up and walked out. And I said, "Oh my God, this is going to be a problem." I stepped out, and there was a young girl and her mother, and the young girl was weeping. And the woman came accusingly to me and she said, "आप पागल हो गए हो?" So I said, "Means क्या हो गया आपको?" She says, "मेरी बेटी का ना डिवोर्स हुआ था, तो इसलिए मैं उसे करण जौहर की पिक्चर दिखाने आई थी, सोचा कि वो खुश हो जाएगी, और ये बनाया हमने." So I was like, "Oh God, that's the moral police is always out, whether or not you have that reality back at home." We as Asians brush realities under the carpet. We don't like to see what goes on at home. We like to see a diluted, if not a dreamy version of the reality, which I realized very early. So infidelity is a problem even today. It will be a problem 10 years later. We don't want to see what happens behind closed doors. We want to imagine that they'll only be singing the Aarti all day long.
Coming on to the next one, Karan, our favorite movies are Hum Aapke Ek Aur and DDLJ, I'm sure both of us love it. And these are two movies that have always been given the credit for opening up the NRI market.
Right.
But then came My Name is Khan, which went beyond the NRI market and reached out to the non-Indian ethnicities across the world to see the markets that your partners, Foxstar Studios, took it to.
Yeah.
On the other hand, we see every single big action or Hollywood franchise reach the grassroots of the Indian market. Somehow we've not been able to do that too often. What do you think will it take for Indian movies to repeat the feat that My Name is Khan managed, to reach out to the people who are not Indians?
I think it's genre specific, Akshay. My Name is Khan touched upon the misinterpretation of a religion, which is a global religion, and therefore it resonated very deeply with many countries beyond the diaspora markets of UAE, UK, USA, Australia, New Zealand. These are conventional diaspora, what we know as overseas markets. My Name is Khan did very well in Syria and Jordan and Egypt, the entire Middle Eastern belt, and also beyond, like we release in Europe in so many parts, because there is a strong, there is a very heavy, population that identified with the film. Similarly, I think the third world issues and ethos of Dangal resonated so deeply with China. So there have been few and far between experiences of films that have traveled tremendously beyond their national and domestic market. But that is really content and genre specific. Not every film will be able to travel. If it's just the usual run-of-the-mill film, it's not going to go beyond its parameters. So you have to kind of, then either the flip is you design a film, by design you try and appease to the globe. But that in my experience never happens. I don't think Lagan planned to be an Academy Awarded nominated film. I don't think Amir thought Dangal would do this kind of historic business in China. And I certainly didn't think My Name is Khan would garner those kind of numbers in the Middle East. It's things that we believed in as Hindi filmmakers. We made our story and we hoped that it would get maximum eyeballs. So, I mean, to answer your question, will there be many more? Perhaps not. Should we achieve that? Not at all. Let's strengthen our own market domestically before we look anywhere else.
Great. Karan, the studio system has now become the mainstream of our entertainment ecosystem. And most filmmakers who were on the top of their game before the studios came in have either merged and aligned with the studios, or most have perished, barring a rare few like Yashraj. What do you think have the studios brought to the table, and what have they taken away from the fraternity since the whole ecosystem changed towards the athlete?
What have the studios brought? Money. What have they taken away? Money. It's pretty much more. I will explain. They brought money, they brought funding. International studios, of course, brought in a lot of money for us to kind of, but what did they take away? The overheads were so high. And I think the lack of understanding, I always say, cinema, Indian cinema, is a beast of its own. It is not like anything else that you sell off the counter or any other product this country sells. We are a beast of our own, and we are a victim sometimes of that beast. So till you don't love that beast, till you don't own that beast, and you don't are completely passionately absorbed by that beast, you should not try and sell it. If you are just a professional, if you're an academic professional, if you've been educated in business and marketing, it does not mean you can market and sell a Hindi or an Indian film. It is a totally different ballgame. We operate from a totally different space of business and passion. We do not adhere to norm. We are an unconventional audience space. We are diverse. You have tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 as cities. You therefore have a single screen audience, a multiplex audience. You have an upper middle class, lower middle class audience. You have to bring everyone together under one roof in one cinema hall is the biggest challenge a filmmaker who wants to make a nationwide success come his way. Now when there are corporate heads who come in, academic, MBAs, intelligent, corporate, they don't understand it because we operate from a very different place. A studio once told me, we want to send Mr. Bachchan an 80-page contract, Mr. Shah Rukh Khan an 80-page contract, legally bound, this, that and the other. I said, can you have a look at the contract I'm going to send Mr. Bachchan? So they said, yes, please show it to us. I said, mine's exactly 1 page. Theirs was 80 pages. I said, I come from a place of faith and trust. That's how I've made my business. My contract to Mr. Bachchan said, dear Amit uncle, thank you so much for being part of this film, lots of love, Karan. That was my contract. I didn't have anything else written in my contract. That's the same contract I sent to Shah Rukh Khan. That's how I make my movies. I said, you want to come on board with me? Then this is our contract. You want to sign those? Of course, today we have those contracts, and but it was not like that many years ago. And even now, the emotionality and the trust factor, it's a very personal industry, Akshay. It doesn't come with that kind of feeling that even Hollywood has. It has a lot of interaction. We may not operate like a family sometimes. You feel when you read Twitter and you read all kinds of inter-wars and inter-problems. But over and above, we are kind of a solid community of people that kind of stand by each other when really push comes to shove. And let me tell you, push comes to shove quite often. So we kind of stand tall. So we are actually a different kettle of fish altogether. So a corporate house, an international studio, when they cross and travel seas and come to India, when in India, do what the Indians do. Because that's the way we will work, that's the way we fly. Which now, I think they're beginning to understand. So what did they take from us initially? They brought the money, they took a lot, they drained the resources. There was a lot of failing because they weren't understanding it. Today, many moons later, I think we've gone through a corporate governance of over 10 years in the film industry. Today, I think everyone's got above the line, below the line, sorted. Actors are lower levels of delusion. Megalomania is a little out of the window now. Practicality has walked in. And things are, I think, heading towards, maybe in another decade, we'll see a golden period of Indian cinema. Right now, we're going through a dark tunnel. There has to be a light at the end of it.
Coming from the past to the present, 2017 has been a very interesting year in a lot of ways. 2 big-ticket movies featuring our 2 biggest superstars, Jab Harry Met Sejal and Tube Light, failed to create the magic that was expected from them. On the other hand, we've had some subject-driven films like a Hindi medium, or more recently a Lipstick in a Burqa, do exceedingly well, not just at the box office, but also in terms of acclaim and the respect they got and the love they got from the audience. Is it truly a time now where the script is actually more important than the superstar?
Everything that is on paper, and I mean everything, the 2 things that are on paper, the script and the budget, both are more important than anybody else, than me, than a superstar, than anyone else. Content is definitely king. If you don't nail your screenplay, you don't get your writing right, the writing's on the wall for you. It's as simple as that. No matter who you are, I can't be deluded about myself and think that I'm going to get an audience if I make a crappy film. It's not going to happen. If my film will dictate to me how good it was, the number in the box office will dictate to me how good that film is. I cannot be over and above an audience demand, and the audience demand is of a good, solid script. The other thing on paper, when I say on paper, is the budget. You've got to get your budgeting right. You can't be flamboyant, indulgent over and above a point of time. It's going to come and bite you. So you can't do that. So whether it's a mega star, superstar, whatever level of star, everyone's got to understand the film is larger than anything else. No one is beyond the star. In Hollywood, the star system died nearly a decade ago. None of them are relevant. They're all come alive between October and Jan for the Academy Awards and the Golden Globes. That's when they become most operational. They're talented, beautiful people, don't get me wrong, but they are not the big ticket movie stars they used to be. In our industry, we're also veering towards the same phenomena, where films, this very year has taught us, if you go by just the Hindi language business, the Hindi belt business of Bahubali, Prabhas and Rana and Mr. Rajamouli and Tamanna and the entire crew of Bahubali are, 2015, before that, they were relatively not known as figures. Today they're the hugest stars because the film is the biggest star. Rajamouli and Bahubali are the stars of that film. They made it happen. Everybody else worked really hard, and I think that they are the most blessed people really to be a part of that blessed franchise. But the film was bigger than all of them. The film was so extraordinary that it showed us that no superstar can stand tall to a tall film. And that's everything.
And talking of Bahubali, it's clearly the tentpole film of 2017, undisputed. And there are two very interesting things that Bahubali showed us. One, of course, is the potential of the 1.3 billion strong population that India has as a market. And the second is that it's possible to bypass the linguistic and cultural barriers that each state offers. Is it really possible now to make a true blue, universally appealing film in India like a Bahubali was? Because we don't see them happening too often. More often than not, they're niche films, demographic specific films. But this one's really shown the light.
I really think that Bahubali really taught us the true meaning of the word crossover. We keep putting so much emphasis on this word crossover. You know, after we crossover, actually when we cross, it's all over because nothing happens. You know, we come right back. This is a true, the first crossover film actually of Indian cinema is Bahubali. It truly crossed within the parameters of the country, which has never happened to that extent ever. We have to encourage that. We have to stop segregating our cinema into regions. We have to call it Indian cinema. We are not, Bollywood is a term we've learned to live with. Let me tell you, it's disheartening where you have to keep using it in the world because that's our identity. We're not a poor cousin of anyone. We're a very tall industry of our own. We make some spectacular films. We have to be very proud of who we are. We are Indian cinema. And that is, I think, what we need to start projecting, promoting, and platforming. It's important that whether it's Marathi, it's Gujarati, it's Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, all of this has to be under one roof, and we've got to start engulfing it together. We have to start platforming the cinema nationwide now. It may start slow, there may be baby steps, but eventually I think we have to go there. Because that's the only way we'll survive as an industry. We have to all come together. Language, region can no longer be a big barrier in our heads. It has to eventually be broken, and that's my big belief.
Consumption of entertainment on platforms like Amazon, Netflix, Hotstar, and a whole lot of other, digital avenues which are legitimate or illegitimate is on the rise. And this is only going to grow with the aggressive stance of the cellular operators, which are reaching out to the length and breadth of the country with 4G now. And it's a matter of time before, the bandwidths grow further. What does this really indicate about the future of consumption of content on the digital?
I think digital is definitely, right now it's seeming like the future is kind of sad and bleak for us at cinema. It's seeming like we might be the stepchild of entertainment and digital will be the mothership. But that will never be the case, I think, because I think the exoticness of celluloid and cinema, even with the digital intervention, will always be spectacular. And I'm hoping that we'll get our content right to combat the digital wave. The digital wave is strong. We have to accept it. It's also given us an additional vertical that also provides the required numbers, that has upped our ante a fair amount and a considerable amount. We need to, of course, keep our cinema breathing and alive to fight it. But the digital wave, give it 5 years, is going to be huge. Right now, we're still accustomizing ourselves to the platform. With the advent of 4G and the platforms, be it like Amazon or Netflix, Hotstar, everyone creating digital content, soon it's going to be a matter of habit. It still isn't. Don't go by all the shows you guys watch on Netflix and Amazon. You're still a very niche number. You're still a tiny, tiny number. But that number is going to grow. It's going to grow, and take quantum leaps, and it's going to start posing a big threat to Indian cinema. So therefore, Indian cinema has to pull up its cinematic socks and kind of combat. So it's strange. There will be a civil war between cinema and digital, but I hope that war is a productive one, because wars tend not to be.
And with consumption of digital on the rise and cinema as a mainstream cinema also flourishing, or rather at least existing fairly well, do you think it's time for our fraternity to start working towards clearly demarcating what kind of content goes where? Do we need to customize in terms of the creative as well as the commercial aspects of the content, the kind of stuff we make for digital versus the kind of stuff we make for the silver screen? Because it's a matter of time before a lot of films may go direct to digital or direct to satellite, or at least content in general. Is that a possibility?
I mean, it's a far out there, but I don't think you can't start dividing content as per platform. Even digital, we keep thinking that if we do really edgy, out there things, it's going to be great for that platform. Not necessarily true. You may not want to watch it. You know, I think that just because you get edgy, that doesn't mean, oh, that's for digital. You could get edgy in cinema as well. You know, you must be able to, you must have the power to do that. You just have to understand that that's a long format. Digital that does well are the long format. That's another format. So you can tell a story in 10 hours. You know, you have that leverage. You don't have that leverage in cinema. Cinema is a 2-hour medium now. 2.5 hours is what you have to tell. So your story has to be encompassed in that. But cinema has its own magic. It always has its own magic.
And with the millions at stake in cinema now, we're nothing short of an industry. But unfortunately, we're that one industry which spends the least amount of time, money, and effort on doing market research, unlike any other sector. Do you think, while of course creativity as a subject and as you know, a concept is going to be subjective, is there a way to put a method to the madness to try and up the ratio of success in terms of ROI for films?
I do believe research is minimal in our industry. I think we get scared of numbers and we always feel, we always take leaps with cinema. Cinema was meant to be a little bit of a risky medium. It was meant to be going on cut and glory, on impulse and instinct, on intuition. It was never meant to be told to us, like many market researchers come and tell us, these are your opening day predictions, this is your dipstick research tells you this, a pie chart will come in front of you.
Very often they go haywire.
Yeah, completely. So then I'm like, who's there who's doing the right research also? Because I've never met anybody who's been tremendously accurate about anything. Sometimes you leave a script out there, but do people know how to analyze a script? They don't know that. They don't know how to read a script. Then you give a song, does everyone have an instinct about commercial music? So I'm not sure if we have the required agencies and committees and people who can actually do research, because there again the same corporate ideology creeps in. Those same people who are doing research don't have passion for Indian cinema. So they don't know how to judge it. With the result, I don't mind putting out research all the time, but am I doing to the right beat? Am I analyzing it correctly? Because Indian cinema is just tough to what I love, you may not. And so you have to be able to see through that.
Which, brings me back to the old school way of filmmaking. If you remember, when your father operated and when Yashji and a lot of filmmakers of that generation were robustly active. And some continue to do it, like Mr. Rakesh Roshan. I'm sure, it's well known in the industry that after every schedule, they've called distributors and exhibitors over to show them footage, take their feedback, and even incorporate a lot of it. Because the exhibitors and distributors, more often than not, are more in touch directly with the audience than probably the director or the writer. So do you think...
I have been at those screenings also, Akshay. And I have been at distributor, exhibitors there. It's not always the right path. Show it to regular audience members who pay ticket without judgment. Because the moment you show it to a distributor and exhibitor, they're all seeing. I used to have arguments with Anil Thadani, who's my friend. He's been my distributor friend for years. Now I used to ask him, did you like it? Yeah, a hit film. I said, but did you like it? He said, no, it's a hit film. I said, what do you mean? What did you think of it? So he was like, no, Thanda hai picture mein. I said, what Thanda hai picture mein? I said, did you like it? And I never understood what he felt about a feature film. So the moment I show it to you, you will start breaking it down to me like it's completely something that you should break down, which is not necessarily true. I would rather show it to all of you. You get a sense in the cinema hall who are not distributors and exhibitors, but just audiences who want to pay money to see a good product. And when I see you unhappy, I know the product has failed. So I do that a lot. I show it a lot. Sometimes I've seen a film of mine and I know, yeah, this is awful, nothing can help it, let me just pray. There's times directors have come to me and said, what do you think I should do? And I say, pray. Because I've seen the film, and I know there's nothing I can do to it. I'm not deluded about the films of mine, but only the director and me know in the closed rooms of an edit room when I know the film is completely failed. And it's happened to me a couple of times in the last couple of years, where I've seen the film and I said, listen, there's nothing we can do about it. Miracle can help this. It's like, dawa nahi dua ki zarurat hai situation. And you say that and you move on. But the ones that like recently, I'll give you an example of say Badrinath Ki Dulhaniya. I was very happy with the script. I really liked the film, but I felt the second half needed something that we were not getting. So we showed the film to about 120 people within the office, outside the office. We kept showing, reviewing it, and we kept making points. Shashank was diligent, so was Varun and Alia. They were all part of this process. We changed the edit, we added a few things, and it all worked out. because we corrected it. I've done that with Jawani Diwani. A lot of our successes, when I know there's potential to take it higher, we do our own internal surveys. In my experience, showing it to the business people is exactly what will happen. You'll get business feedback. But films don't need business feedback. They need creative energy. They need love. They need nurturing. They don't need money all the time.
Karan, any field of work, whether it's medicine, law, engineering, management, India or the world across offers a formal educational system for it. While in our industry, you hear 90% of the cases where people are learning on the job. Is it necessary to have a structure like that, a structured formal education? There is a Whistling Woods, there is an FTII, but they're very few and far between.
I do believe that. It's my big dream. It's my big dream to open like a school that can teach, literally grassroots teaching, which is what none of these educational institutions can ever teach you, is grassroots teaching, which is where I learned on the job. Like, I actually am not educated in film at all, and it's my failing. I learned on the job, which is not the way to learn. You have to kind of go with the grammar and then perfect it through experience. We never end up doing that. We don't have a formal education. You know, we don't never know woods that were whistling at my time, and you know, we never went into FTI, and we were just nepotistic students. And we went because our father knew prolific filmmakers, and we got access to the sets. We were fortunate, but I was not trained to make Kuch Kuch Hota. I should never have. I got lucky, but that was not the way to begin. You know, I should have actually worked much hard. So when people say, yes, you are a product of nepotism, of course I am. But if I had not done anything with it, that would have been a problem. Had I not, because that what people annul and take away from you is the tremendous hard work, sincerity and passion you put into your craft. Because let me tell you, there is not a single success story in the country, no matter what your lineage is, that can ever stand on its feet if it is not backed up with hard work and dedication. It's not possible. No one gets, you get an opportunity. What you do with that opportunity is what defines you as a professional. So I mean, the country operates from perhaps sometimes on the basis of what this word of the season suggests. But definitely there's more to it. So I feel like I got that access and that door entry into Yash Raj films, where I was an assistant on Dilwale Dulhania Le Jayenge, because Yash Johar called Yash Chopra, and it was easy enough. But I was a very, 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 very eager student on that set. I mean, to the point that I think Aditya Chopra wanted to slap me at times just to ask so many questions. And it was just the way I learned on the job. But I do believe we need many, to answer your question again, I do believe we need many academic institutions that teach film, that teach grassroots filmmaking, that make you love and understand the possibilities of Indian cinema, not just the textual matter of it.
Lovely. Karan, change, as they say, is the only constant in life, and like everything around us, our fraternity keeps changing, or rather transforming, in sync with the theme of the summit. I'm going to mention a few things, and I'd love to hear what you see them transforming into, or what you'd like to see them transforming into. Clearly your answers are full of fire. Let's make them rapid.
Yeah, go ahead, shoot.
Public relations in Bollywood.
Required. You want one word, right?
You can go with the second.
Public relations in Bollywood.
I mean, the way they function currently, PR.
PR. Yeah, well, there are two PR. One is internal, one is external.
External.
External, yeah, you've got to communicate what's happening with it. Everyone does it. I mean, that's the way it is. That's how people think that's the best way to position. From airport look to gym look to what you're doing in your bathroom, it's out there now. And you know, PR is aided so heavily by social media that actually it's cut the entire middleman in the process. Now, I mean, like, it's now, if the Instagram wasn't enough, there's Instagram story now, and there's everything happening. Like, literally now, the one thing that I have to tell you social media has done is killed the luster and the glory of the movie star. Because there was a time where you really wanted to know what they did, how they looked, where they went, who they interacted with. Now they're sitting in your bedroom with you. You know, they're literally with you. Forget bedroom, they are now in your bathroom. They are with you everywhere. So, I mean, the luster and the sheen has definitely depleted as a result of that. PR is definitely, we operate from that. When you don't have talent, apparently PR is what you turn to.
Bollywood award ceremonies.
Bollywood what?
Award ceremonies.
Go when you're getting paid or getting an award. It's very important. And if you're neither and you show up, then you need two parents.
title numbers.
What is that? It's so ridiculous. I call them songs that are entertaining. Why are we branding them? And of course, I've been succumbed, but I think the objectification angle that was thrown at us is very justified, and I think I apologize personally on many platforms I have for having been, I would say, responsible for a few of those, and I would not do it again because I know the repercussions and ramifications are distressing, and I would not do it again.
So we're talking about how we see these things transforming within 10 years from now, how you'd like to see them.
Dharma Productions in 10 years. I just hope I'm still around.
A movie star's entourage.
Oh God, we pay for it, the price of it. But these days even I have one, so I shouldn't complain.
Your students of the year 2012.
Oh my
all
God,
the three.
I just hope they're shining and rising, and they're like, I feel I have literally, I will launch a lot of new talent and actors, but for me, Sid, Varun and Alia will always be the most special because I have just love and pride in my heart when I see them. I'm as concerned about them as I am about Yash and Ruhi, and it's the truth.
And 10 years from now?
I think they'll be huge stars. I don't need to say it as a hope, I know it as a fact.
Lip sync songs.
It's sad, I want to hold on to them. I really want to hold on to them. I mean, I really I feel like RIP Logic, let's just sing songs.
Salman Khan's cliche here, Ranbir Kapoor's marital status, 10 years. It's a while.
Well, I hope they both find matrimonial happiness.
The obsession for weekend numbers.
Yeah, well, that started with guys like you, yeah, and then we follow suit. So
so at the
end of the day, the weekend number, the Monday sustaining, the Tuesday sustaining, and then the second week, and then this goes on. It's traumatic. Releasing a film, you have no idea, guys, what happens on that Friday. It's like anything close to cardiac arrest is the release of a film.
Film critics and reviews.
I love all of them because I want to tell you, I read all of them. I have a great amount of regard. I'm one of those few people who do not like to diss critics because I like to read what they have to say because I firmly believe they come from a solid place. They are not being vindictive. They don't have anything personally against you, and there should be no conspiracy theory connected to critics. They do their job like you're doing yours. So when they're telling you your film is not good, it perhaps is not good. And you've got to listen to it, take it in your stride. On the weekend, I read every review. You ask me who reviews for which platform and I'll tell you the name because I follow them, I read them. I'm obsessed with reading about what they have to say about my films.
Something both of us are, or rather the entire fraternity is fairly guilty of. The you scratch my back, I scratch yours syndrome on Twitter that we display before every
I'm always doing that. I'm praising everybody. I have a disorder. I can't help it. It's called being miscongeniality. It's a problem. I just feel like I must be very loved by my own industry, and if that means praising their bad films, I'll do it.
10 years from now, the Indian School of Business.
More power to you. May the force always be with you. May you rise and shine like the phoenix and always take brilliant and quantum leaps into the future and create generations of brilliance.
We've spoken about the business. On a more personal note, clearly the biggest release of your career has come recently with an announcement, with the first look. Yash and Johar. How's fatherhood been so far?
It's been, it's always something that is really tough to kind of express in words. Only because I think that it's been the most overwhelming part of my life. I've always said that there have been events that have been like big in my life. The release of my first film, the death of my father. But I think that this will be a pillar in my life. When I see them every day and I stare at Yash and Ruhi, the first thought in my mind is, oh my God, I can't believe they're mine. Just knowing that they're my children and knowing that, they have that onus over me and I have that onus over them is just the most spectacular feeling in the world. Like, I don't think anything can ever come second to it. My mother and me co-parenting those children are just, it's like, I hold on to that feeling every day because I feel I never wanted to go away. And I have to say I'm blessed by the universe to have made me take this decision, and I'm always grateful to the legal team, my doctor, Jatin Shah, all of them who kind of made this possible. And more than anything else, I think that there was an empty space vacant in my life for various reasons. There is always an emptiness and loneliness. I think filmmakers come with that. Sometimes it's part of the territory. But today I don't feel that anymore. And I hope that doesn't take away from me as a filmmaker. I hope it just adds to it. So selfishly, two things. I hope that I can live as long to enjoy, I think, the fruits of parenthood. And the secondly, I hope that it empowers me to be a stronger filmmaker so I can actually make a film that I believe will make them really proud.
Karan, it's been an absolute pleasure to see you. Thank you for being here. Thank you, ISB, for being a wonderful audience.
Thank you, Akshay. Thank you. He's amazing. I've known Akshay for very many years, and I feel he's really a young entrepreneur and a young voice in mainstream cinema, in the exhibition end, which is always very, very exhilarating to meet young talent. So thank you, Akshay, for doing this. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. While we're still in the realm of the rapid fire round, I have just two more questions to you. Rapid fire round, two questions. Which has been the best preschool summit that you have ever attended?
If there's a hamper for this one here.
Yes, undoubtedly ILS.
And which is the best preschool in India and very soon in the world?
You know, the fact that you asked me this question is a poor reflection of your own self. You should have known that answer.
That's a lesson learned, and I'm noting that down. Thank you so much. This very short conversation has been extremely engaging, it's been entertaining, and it's been insightful, and it's made all of us think about a thing or two. Much like most of your films, and it's amazing how you do this time and again. Thank you so much for your time.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I have to say, I'd like to thank all of you. You've been an amazing audience, and just full of vibrancy. And I think that's the one thing that I always take away. I get the feeling every time I sit and I do an interview, there's a thump that you either feel or you don't feel, and I felt it today, like a strong heartbeat. I always felt like that Kalonao heartbeat song was going on in my head. So thank you guys. You guys are amazing, and really great futures ahead for all of you. Thank you.
I'd like to invite Rupika now on stage to hand over a memento as a token of our appreciation. And while that happens, it's customary and it's tradition in your shows, and we're going to like to repeat that here. There's a coffee mug right there, and we'd love you to sign that. One request for everyone seated here is, as Mr. Karan Johar exits and leaves the room, please be seated where you are, and after about 5 minutes, then vacate your seats. This is just a request, just so that we don't have too much of a crowd outside. Thank you. Thank you for understanding. One huge round of applause for Mr. Karan Johar.